Good day, everyone. This is, let me just get to share the screen. Can people see that?
Yeah,
Yep.
I can't see. I need glasses. Okay, there you go. Okay, welcome everyone to the meeting of the archive project management meeting. It's Wednesday, the 2nd of April. I'll just give some opening blurb. SingularityNET contains a history of the activities of the SNet Ambassador Program. All content is provided under an open source Apache 2 license, and contributions may also be licensed under a Creative Commons license. We do video recordings of these meetings, hopefully, and then upload them and timestamp them. Our goal is to provide a collaborative platform for the SingularityNET Archive community to share knowledge, ideas, and best practices. And we welcome contributions from anyone interested in SNet, whether it's a new project code example or documentation. Excuse me. So our process is to review action items, which I'm just going to hand over to Vanny in a minute, and then we go through the project board, reviewing what has been done and what needs to be done. So should I stop sharing and pass it over to you now, Vanny?
yeah, okay. Yeah, and do you want to drop a link to the board in the chat just so Jeffrey can
Uh,
find it if
oh, the project board. Yeah, okay. Yeah, hold on a sec.
yeah.
Okay, there's the project board.
Lovely. All right, so this is today's summary. I'm just adding in who's here. And I think, Jeffrey, you're a name that we need to add to the control vocab. We'll get to that later in the meeting, but we need to make sure that your name is up there because I've seen you at a few meetings now. Oh, and here's Ashley. Okay, I'll add her. Oh,
Hi,
I
Ashley.
could help as well. Goodness me, what's wrong with me today? I can't type. There we go. All right, so the video link just goes to the playlist of all our meetings, so it's there. And I've updated to give the link to the GitHub issue for today's meeting. I might sift through some of these. I think some of them can come out, but I'll look at it at the end of the meeting. All right, let's have a look at decisions from the last meeting that are still kind of pending or carrying over. Um, yeah, I think we can actually remove that. This was the one about the decision that we actually can't afford to implement some kind of fancy schmancy skilled documentation team in Q1. And I think we know that. And I think we know that, yeah, token price is a little bit lower than 55 cents. So yeah, I'm just going to remove it because it upsets me. Um, no, seriously. Yeah, quarterly report was submitted on the 10th of March and was approved. We'll come to that when we see it in the board, but just so that people know, I'll tweak that in a minute. Work group sync call at the end of March say that meeting summaries will not be audited during Q2. So that I think could come out. I'm just reading it to see if there's anything. Yeah, we decided what the kind of how long we'll wait before we record it as no summary given, and we settled on a month, I think. Oh, sorry, my internet connection's going. Can you
Oh,
hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
can hear you. Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh. All right. All right, I'll whip through it. Action items. I have approached deep funding, and yes, I'm still waiting for a reply, so I will chase that. Um, this was about whether the events circle could take on documentation of deep funding town hall. So yeah, I will chase that up. You and I, Andrew, were to meet to wrap up the tag taxonomy issue. Yeah, we did that. So and it was due for today. So yeah, it's. Oh, goodness me, what have I just done? I just deleted it. Oh my God.
Oh, shucks.
Never mind. Oh dear. I'm sorry. I think I have some cursor issues here. If I control Z, it won't bring it back, will it?
No, no.
It's recorded though.
Mm. Yeah, no. It would
Yeah,
just be nice to be able to track issues in that way. But yeah, we did meet, and we'll get to it when we get to that issue on the board.
yeah.
And yeah, US. I think we should also just add.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah, that. Yeah,
Yeah, so I think judging by the fact that I've seen Jeffrey in quite a few meetings, we should probably add him.
yeah.
There we are. Okay, so I'll just change that to a to do and we'll have it as, I don't know. Um, let's say the end of April. All right. And I think that's all.
Cool.
Okay, over to
Um,
you, Stephen.
okay, let's go back to the board. Let's see. Start from the top. They're ordered by yeah, they're ordered by now. Actually, they should be ordered by assignees, but I don't think they are.
Oh,
Um,
actually, while I think of it, while we're talking about the board, since our budget has been approved, there might be new tasks to add to the board for quarter 2. So I'll have a look at that. I'll make myself an action.
Oh,
okay, I'm just trying to. Okay, I'm ordered by. Not sure if that's right. Status. Oh, right, it's labels. Sorry, that's one thing looking for. Labels. Uh, ordered by. Yes, that's ordered by that ascending archive and in progress. But so I start with the development ones first. Okay, is that right, Vanny?
Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, and we usually start with development ones and then go on to other ones. Should we start with you, Andre, on the
yeah, that's
uh,
fine.
tool development, the general one, or the quarterly one? The
Uh,
quarterly one?
That's that one we can move to done. It's a old
Yeah.
task that's been dragging along. It's just on the board for payment reasons, I suppose.
Is it
But
going to be
this,
replaced? Is it going to be
yeah,
replaced by quarter 2, or is it just going to
yeah,
end?
yeah, this work that I did here will eventually become part of my monthly work. So
Okay.
I think this was a little bit extra work in the past, but it's going to become of my part of my monthly
Okay.
work. So
Shall I put it to done? Done then? Shall I?
yeah, we can
Okay.
move this to done because it's
Okay.
Might
Okay.
be,
And then the
might be worth putting an unpaid
routine.
tag on it just so we don't
oh
forget that it's
yes,
been paid.
Ah, uh,
yes.
can you chase that and put an
Yeah,
unpaid on that? Um,
yeah, yeah, I'll do it.
okay. Where are we? Okay, tool development.
And in March, so if you scroll down, I think I said I started writing scripts to compare the data. So
Yeah,
we're gonna stop Vanny's gonna stop auditing the data.
right.
So uh, I started writing scripts to compare the two data uh, types, the raw data that the people entered and the data Vanny entered. So
Okay,
that is almost done. And then we're gonna output those differences to a repo somewhere.
okay,
And once this is done, I'm gonna start. So this is the month. I've made this part of the monthly development, but once this is all done, I'm gonna start developing the new meeting summary tool
right.
finally.
Okay. I'll be from. I suppose these kind of last month's issues, so there'll be tool development for April. and that'll go in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay. So I'll leave that. So I'll leave it open for the moment and let you close it,
Yeah, yeah, I
or
can do it.
should it be
I
done?
also have to create a new one for
Well,
April.
actually,
So I usually use
yeah, I'll
this.
I'll leave it open for
You
now.
Yeah, leave
don't
it open.
actually. Oh
Yeah.
well, no,
Okay.
yeah, no, sorry, you do. I was thinking we were still looking at the other issue, but yeah, we need a tool development one for April, don't we? I
Yeah.
was
Yeah,
just
yeah,
going
Yeah.
to say, would it also be worth noting where we're going to store that comparison data that you had? I mean, that it was so interesting. I think it would just be nice to maybe talk a little bit about what there is in there when we compare
yeah,
the Gitbook version with the database version, because as we mentioned last time, for those who weren't here, there have been some errors that I've basically made where I've made changes that haven't been saved to the database. And it's just, a lot of them are the sort of things that I change when I edit a meeting summary or tweak it. And it's
yeah.
just interesting to see what sort of changes do get made. So, yeah.
Shall I
So
share? I haven't
did,
output like all the,
we,
but I've got a few examples.
if you copy it to
Should I?
chat, or I could let you, if you copy it to chat, I could go to the link.
Yeah, yeah. There's one.
Uh,
There's another one.
oh,
And there's another two work groups. I just made a
right. So this
few
is
examples.
so I put that, so I paste those in the comment underneath, in the comment underneath as well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's
As
okay.
Yeah, because then we can like can be illustrative examples. So if I put, say, data examples, or whoop, keyboard's not working. So
Yeah,
data examples, and then there's that. Move my there you go, put the comment there. Okay, and so this is an example of the JSON output that you've done from the script, yeah,
yeah,
which compares data differences.
yes.
Do you want to talk us through that briefly, or
Yeah, so I basically just took what the output was in the final Gitbook version that after Vanny
right?
audited it and archived it. So I parsed the Gitbook and then I turned it into a similar format than what it is in the database, so that is where the data that the people entered, that raw data was in the database. So I turned this Gitbook data into a similar format and then compared them and then just output any differences. So this view only shows the differences. So there might be other fields in the JSON that were similar. They won't come up in this version. So this
Okay,
one only focuses on the differences.
but in this case, you have then the field in. Is this the field in the
Yeah.
Gitbook and then the field in the soup in the database?
Yes, yeah. So there's a
Okay,
document, a field, and then you get the
yeah,
values.
and for example, this difference is that in one of them TiVo is mentioned and in other one TiVo isn't
Yeah.
mentioned. Is that the difference there? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
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 So that's what it's picked up. And for example, here that looks like a pagination issue in the
Yeah.
Gitbook.
The one has a
Yeah.
full stop. Yeah.
Yeah, that has a uppercase T as well and a full stop.
Yes, that's
I
right.
mean, I
So
think what we can say is
different.
a lot of these are just like little proofreading corrections, which is how this field should have been used. But if you look at a couple of the others, there have been like quite sort of more major changes, which I shouldn't
Okay.
have done that way. I should have done them directly. But
Let's
yeah, I
look at
mean,
the another one.
I
We have
think it's Yeah,
Oh,
that's just the same one, but in a different format. But yeah, I think it's like I'm kind of like a natural born proofreader. So when I'm reading through it, I do just like make little tweaks and they're not really significant, they don't matter. But sometimes there is an issue with the structure of or even the factual correctness of what is said. And I just think what is interesting about what Andre's done here is it gives us a way to compare the two sources and make sure that they match. So, you know, periodically we can, I guess, do that and make sure that they, you know, that the source of truth is the database. I mean, I think it
right.
becomes less significant the more that we use graph processors because if we're using that in order to interpret and interrogate our archive, then the details of what's in the database may matter less, I think. But it'd be interesting to see, you know?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be interesting to see how and what has been our output here. So each of these have got a separate script, Andre, in terms of like for
Uh,
this example here. Do you have a script that
I
outputs the,
just,
for example, is there a
yeah,
script for all of them?
I just made so the script that I've written it just outputs a few different versions. So it's got
Oh,
the
okay.
actual data. Those are the actual data. And then you've
Yeah,
got the differences. And the
yeah.
commit view is where I first commit the superbase and then I commit the gitbook. And then you can see the differences. If you click on the go back, then
Okay.
I'll show you where to click. Just do you see where it says create directory? Shucks, not that. Update changes view with gitbook data.
Um, all right, the change commit this one. Update
Yes, yeah.
changes
Click on
with
the
archive.
up.
Yeah, yeah.
So you have to click on the update or click on that number. Oh, wait, I'll drop it in chat.
Yeah.
You have to click on a weird, which one is this archives work group? It's this one. Oh, I think the first one I dropped in chat. No, the second one I dropped in chat is
The
the
second
one
one
with the,
is the commit one here.
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So there you can
Okay.
see,
Okay, so that shows you the differences. Okay,
yes,
right. Okay. But then as you're saying, Vanny, this is helpful also because it shows you the difference between, basic grammatical or type of and more substantial differences
Yeah, it just means you
as
can see
well.
easily what was actually changed. And I mean, I think ultimately what we've found over the years that we've been running the archive is that people don't find documentation all that easy. So if by using graph processes, we can make it so that it matters less if people make errors, then that's a
Mm.
really positive thing because it just means then that the tooling we've developed, you know, it's still useful for people without them having to be brilliant documenters. I can't say for sure if that is what we'll find, but I kind of hope it is in a way.
Yeah, we'll have to, explore and do some exploratory stuff. So to see what helps people and what doesn't, that kind of thing. Um, okay, let's go back to. Okay, so I put some data. Actually, I put data examples. I put script data stroke script examples. Um, there. Oh, let's see. Script examples. And then I'll put some bullet points there for the links. So that gives us some point of reference there. Okay, thanks for
yeah,
that, Andre. Um, just update that. There you go. So I move on to my development issues. Again, I think it's been quite got distracted a little bit last month from some complementary work. So I kind of basically haven't done much on, again, writing. Wait for this to come up. Internet's slow for some reason. Hmm. Ugh. Have you got a slow internet connection, Vanny, as well? Oh, here we go. Yeah, so I was, I mean, again, like Andre, when writing scripts, so I'm in the process. So I haven't completed this. I'm still in the process of writing a GitHub app token generator. So that's a script that will interact with the GitHub API to generate a JSON web token for authentication. So that will allow us to well, one of the jigsaw pieces that will allow us to wrap up scripts that we write into GitHub apps. So that sounds rather obscure, but it is useful. But it's still in progress. The I need to create a new issue for, like you, Andre. I need to create a new issue for what's it gone? The
April.
quarterly. Yeah,
Oh,
it's for quarterly, out for April, and also for the next quarter. Well, this because we're now in a new quarter actually, so I'll need to create a new quarterly issue for the workflow, and I'll update that with
I don't know if you do because it's not in, do you know what I mean? That quarterly thing is not in the budget for this quarter, so it's just monthly issues, isn't it?
ah, right, right. So is that something we need to note, or should I just close this?
I think we can just close that and maybe again unpaid
Okay,
so we remember it hasn't been paid.
okay. So let's say closed and no subsequent quarterly issue produced. Let's say that, yeah. Um, and then I'll put budget reasons. So that's budget reasons, isn't it? Okay. So again, that's a paring back to the bone a little bit because we're very sensitive to the price, unfortunately, and so we have to cut our cloth as it is. So it's unpaid again. So yeah, that's already marked for that. And I put to done. Okay. Okay, that's that. So I will create a new issue for April and close the LLM for March. Going back to archive issues, we have at the top, again, this a budget issue, a holder issue, the first one.
Sorry, which one are you looking at?
Check for any new names, tags.
No, no, this is something that we do every month.
Okay. Do you want
oh.
to speak to this?
If you scroll down, I've added the links to
Yeah.
the sheets. There's a SNet archive names
Yeah.
and tags.
I mean, I think with tags, I'm working on it, and when we get to the tag taxonomy one, we can sort of look at that. But gosh, isn't everything slow? I think we
It
said
is. It's
when
really
we,
slow to do.
I know we're stuck in the valley, aren't we? Yeah, I think
Yeah.
the ones to add in terms of names, obviously Jeffries, we said, and oh yeah, I was supposed to speak to Eveline, because I know she uses a couple of different names, and I think she's settled on Eveline Trinité. So
Oh,
it's
yes.
on the list, I think, somewhere, but we just weren't sure if that was it.
Which one? Yeah.
Um, it's somewhere.
Yeah, this on
Um,
next. As this is a bit slow, it may not be that helpful.
sorry?
And when I scroll
All
down,
right.
it tends to go to the left as well.
Oh dear.
So
All right. I mean,
yeah,
I can
so
add them in. I'll add them in after the meeting, with a note Because I know
Okay.
oh yeah, there's also Alfred Itadele is somebody else to add. So yeah, I'll put it in the names spreadsheet, Andre, shall I,
Yeah.
with
Would
a
they,
marker to add them?
they know?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not
yeah, that's
very
perfect.
okay. And the same for archive tags. So do you want me to open that as well? Or
No, because that's been worked on separately. So
Yeah, yeah.
okay. Okay. I like your new
So
profile
that
picture,
one,
by the way,
I
Andre.
think, yeah, that the tags will become part of that other. Yeah, well, that's a separate thing.
Okay. Okay, moving on from there to right. So we're on to tag taxonomy quarter two.
yeah, can I screen
Um,
share? Because there's a
yeah,
document
yeah,
somewhere.
sure,
Oh, I'm
sure,
saying
sure.
that I might not be able to screen share because the connection is so bloody rubbish. But let's
Yeah.
give it a
Well,
go.
give it a go. Yeah.
Um, mm, just let me find the actual. Um, right. So the reason I'm screen sharing it is because this doc is not open yet because I'm still fiddling about with it. But I can show you at least what I'm doing. So Andre has given me all the tags that have been used since forever, and I've separated them out into topics, emotions, games played, and other. We've noticed that people use the other tag field in absolutely mad ways. I don't know, I don't really know what the thought process is, but things that are not tags. They're really not. So we're thinking that in the redesign of the tool, we'll remove that field. So it'll just be topics and emotions. And anything in here that was like tag worthy in any way, I've kind of moved it to somewhere else. If it belonged in topics, I've put it there. Um, most of these should have been in the body of the summary itself. But things like this, yeah, that's a tag, but it's validly a topic tag, so I've moved it there. Same with event planning. Um, with games played, this is a field that is specific to Gamers Guild, and yeah, some things sort of ended up in there that are not really games, but we've got these as the ones that they have played. So that will be the control vocabulary, and when they play another game, they'll be able to add it, and we'll just approve it and add it to the section. Emotions tags. Yeah, what I've done is I've gone through and just I've tried to standardize on capitalization and duplicates and so on. And I've added things. So if we can see a tag, if we can see something in the type emotions field, that means it was originally there. If it hasn't got that, I've added it because it's come from somewhere else, like for instance, the other field. So for instance, also I've tried to standardize these towards adjectives. So where we've got impatience, I've changed it to impatient because I think that's what people will look for. We have got quite a big set of emotions, obviously. And yeah, they all are. So that is kind of, I think, a pretty comprehensive control vocabulary. I think we've got to question whether such a big vocab is useful and whether how much people are going to add things that are essentially the same thing. But, we've had this conversation before about whether it is a meaningful difference to have a tag of aggressive versus aggressive in parts. I think it is. I think those mean really different things emotionally to people. And, if you're saying a whole meeting was aggressive, that's a really different thing from saying, yeah, it was a bit aggressive in parts. So I've kind of tried to preserve those differences. And I think in the end, the act of creating a controlled vocabulary, it's not so much about necessarily that people will start typing something and find it in the drop down, and well, not a drop down, they'll find it in the autocomplete and they'll go, yeah, I'll use that. It's more to keep tabs on what kind of emotions people are noticing, because this is like a comprehensive assessment of the things that people noticed about how a meeting felt.
Mm,
I think at some point they might be useful in terms of a graph process to kind of
mm.
see, um, you know, that's odd. I thought I took those out. Obviously, I need to still proofread this. These are not staying because they're not really tags.
I mean,
But yeah, it gives us an interesting insight into like what people have tagged things, and I think it could be useful.
yeah, I know this is sensitive again to funding, but it lays the groundwork for the possibility, given funding, of working with, say, some kind of community work group where they would kind of review this. Yeah, so you might graph it out, and as you say, you get a kind of interesting topology of emotions or heat maps or whatever, and then you would then liaise with people, hopefully who produced the emotions or a sample of them, to
Mm.
sort of buy into that or to review them and to sort of and
Yeah.
that gives some ownership of them because maybe
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And I think also
um
we can also look at things like semantic similarity, how
yeah,
common things were. I mean, just looking at these, I know just from knowing the corpus quite well that some of them are quite rare. I think there's
yeah,
probably two summaries that are tagged with silencing. It's
yeah,
not a common emotion. There are loads that are tagged with slow, you know?
yeah.
It's interesting, is that are they different? Slow paced, slow start, you know? Speedy is a very
That's
common.
where yeah, yeah, exactly. That's where proximity might
Yeah,
be interesting.
exactly. Exactly.
And it might also, just because something's rare doesn't mean it's not common. I mean, that sounds it may
No,
be
no,
like
no.
a path. There may be a path to the rarity, like the final straw, if you like.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that
Exactly that.
that could come, in the end, it was silencing kind of thing. And
The
but
other
that,
thing that's interesting actually is that I noticed that things like, for example, some people some people's meetings are often tagged with a certain thing. Like I think Tevos tend to have organized because he's a very organized worker. And
right,
it just gives you insights into how people
yeah,
work, you know?
yeah. Again, people observing this and also for the sake of recording, this may seem mundane, but a lot of this sort of grunt work, if you like writing scripts, extracting these tags, is really important because it's building the base for what can be analyzed later. And essentially, it's much more sophisticated than the original, just plain creating an archive because uh, we're now digging into the archive, already, and this, as you say, Vanny, we it gives us a platform to go to the next level. Yeah. So, which is to sort of look at here we have like your type, your kind of cleaning and reviewing up the emotion tag, and then we can take those and do something much more exploratory with them, and then potentially also then we can take that and then from an AI ethical perspective, we can then say to people, feed that back to people, so
Mm.
people can then get, get ownership of that, and then you can sort of have some sort of, in the end of the day, some sort of verified community emotion, if you like, or feeling, if you like. So that's where we're heading. We may not be there yet, but just for sake, I just want to highlight that.
I'm just horrified at the idea of a verified community emotion. And
Oh my God.
if you're caught feeling one that isn't verified, then you just have to leave. I don't know.
It sounds a bit Orwellian, doesn't it? But there
I
we
know.
go.
And just quickly, I'll show you where I'm at with the topics. There's a lot of repetition, and there's a lot that are like, we've got strings that are not comma separated. We've got misspellings. We've got all sorts of
Right.
things, and standardization on capitalization and stuff like that. But I'm getting there. You can see how many tags on topics there are. I think that's inevitable because we've got things like every time there's a new budget decision, it'll be Q4 or Q3 or whatever. I'm noticing that we've tended to use Q4 on its own. Q4 what year? You know, we need to
Yeah.
sort of sort that out.
Oh, shucks. Yeah.
But yeah, there's some interesting things that have cropped up rarely, and there's some interesting things that we can see as connected. I love research on ingenious tooling. That was actually meant to be indigenous tooling and it was a typo. But I love the idea that we could research ingenious tooling. I think, yeah, we need to do that. But yeah, we've got some really interesting topics and it sort of makes you realize the things that we have discussed over the
Mm.
years that we've been a
Was
community.
that some rural exclusion I saw there?
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
yeah,
in the context of African Guild, I think,
yeah.
if I remember rightly.
Yeah, so there's a lot of, as I say, a lot of raw material there for. It's a bit frustrating sometimes at the moment because we're kind of. It feels like we're moving slowly, but we're actually building up a big store of useful data, um, and it's really about unleashing the potential of that, given funding and given future direction. But all right, go back to the board. Um, So that was Vanny was given a more detailed overview of the taxonomy analysis and deriving a controlled vocabulary. Do you want to add anything finally, or should we move on to another
I mean, just to say that
issue?
obviously there was a whole project behind this where we looked at like what tags might have been missing. And so I've yet to add all of those in. And I don't know, it's a bit of a slower process than I thought it was. So Andre, I am getting there and I think I will be done by the time you're ready to sort of put it in place. I think we said
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
week or so. So yeah, I will
Yes,
get
yeah.
there.
No, that's
Great.
perfect.
Okay. Then on to this is just in order. Open source policy and culture.
Oh, I've started a draft. It's not really ready to share yet, and it should have been done
Okay.
by now. But yeah, I've been a bit
Yeah.
busy. So yeah,
Yeah.
I will
Okay.
certainly for the next meeting, I'll have something.
Okay. That's great. As I say, we this is just a stand-up meeting. We don't necessarily go into detail if things aren't ready. Budget quarter two is the issue that was approved, did you say?
Yeah, it was. It went through on the first round, but if you just scroll down,
Yeah.
obviously, as everyone knows, it was calculated at 30 cents and token price is now 20 cents. So I think we just need to say, what approach are we going to take? Are we going to try and make budget cuts, bearing in mind that we're cut to the bone already? Or are we just going to say, let's agree not to submit issues for payment for a month and see if it improves?
Hmm.
What do we think?
But my view, well, I'm not sure if this is, there's not much we can do at this stage apart from, well, one is potentially to accept a proportional cut for all the issues, you know. Uh, that's one option. Or as you say, the other option is to wait. Although I think that's just,
We do have some reserves as well.
yeah,
I
So
know, but I think spending reserves at a time of low token price is not a good
yeah.
idea.
yeah.
If we can help it. I mean, I don't know. I think anybody that is due to be paid in this quarter can decide whether they want to be paid now, or when they've completed the task. But we always used to pay mostly at the end of the quarter. And like,
Mm,
so I think it's up to, say like when you've got your monthly development issues, if you want to be paid at the end of the month, then fair enough. But if you want to hold off, then you could do.
Reminds me of something I was going to do a year or so, where you have a budget, but then you don't because you put the money you're holding in some sort of AMM, money making account. So, but I'm not sure. Mm. Then we need to better think out how we deal with budget fluctuations and people's expectations as well. I
In the
mean,
end, there's so little we can do
it's
though.
a tricky one.
Budget goes down, price goes
Yeah,
down.
there is.
What?
Yeah.
I mean, short of pulling it all out, putting in a fund request for what we're owed, and investing it. Like, I,
Yeah,
j- I- yeah, there's nothing we can do.
yeah. No, I can't think of the only thing I can think of is some form of arbitrage, but we're not really that sophisticated. So, and I'm not even sure. I'm talking about blockchain strategy in general. I think the blockchain strategy in general, if you have a fluctuation price and you're budgeting in your environment against that price, then the logical thing to do would be to peg it against a more stable currency, um, for a proportion of it. But that's not being done. So
Yeah.
it's a bit like saying, well, we could do this, but it's not going to be done. Do you see what I mean?
Well,
So
yes and no, because I will
yeah,
say that on the 7th, Monday the 7th, there is a work group sync call. And we have been
right,
talking about the whole idea of how we manage low token price. So I think that'll be
yeah,
discussed in governance as well. So I think we could raise these things there.
yeah. I mean, maybe I'm not the way you do it is maybe you say, okay, let's have a risk profile. So say, I mean, I'm not saying do it this way, but let's say you divide it into you set a budget, and then the moment you set the budget is the price that you set. Yeah, as you say, it's gone from 30 down to 20. Okay, but let's say you pegged a lot, half of that to a stable coin or something, which I suppose would mean converting it to that, and then you just say, okay, this other portion of money we're going to risk, so it'd be speculative. That's the only thing I think that would make sense, really, because otherwise you're just everything is speculative. So it means
Except it's
I
the
don't know.
timing of it, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
we set the 30 cents thing well before people's budgets went in. And so you can't convert money that you don't know the community has approved you to have until your budget's been approved. And
No,
it just
I
so
would,
happened that the drop happened at that time. If it happens like a week from now, then yeah, maybe we could do that.
no, but I would do the conversion at the moment of the budget allocation at the top, if you think, as it were.
No, but that's what I'm
So as
saying. The
soon as as
budget
soon as
isn't
the
allocated until the community approves your budget, is it? So,
no, but isn't the money available prior to
oh,
that?
so you mean
Prior to,
literally when, well, no, because like we don't draw down the allocation from the supervisory council's wallet all in one go at the start of the quarter. Maybe we should,
right.
and then
But
convert half
that's
of
what
it
I'm
to a
saying.
stablecoin.
But
Yeah.
you should make a judgment on it. So it's a bit like I would argue you should decide. Well, you can make a decision. Do you want all your money to be risky, which we're in the current situation, which is high volatility, or literally at this point going down in value? Yeah. Or do you want to portion of it to certainty, so you know it just is pegged at a certain level? And I think most other, if you're running some sort of business, you probably would do a bit of both because, yes, prices go up and down, so you're speculating on that, if you like. That, yeah, whatever you say about the coin, however invested you are, price goes up, price goes down. That's okay in some levels. That's part of the nature of a crypto. But also, you have infrastructure, structural things that you need to support, and structural things need certainty, don't they? So, and that's my view. I don't know. That's so but you would need to do it prior to allocation. You're right, Vanny. So you'd need to do it right at the
Mm.
outset. You need to see,
I mean,
here's the
somewhere,
drawdown from the wallet that's available.
Well, that's it. We're not doing
Yeah.
that. Am I right, Andre? We don't draw
No,
the
no.
whole amount.
No. I
So
only asked Peter to fund the Treasury
yeah,
Guild wallet when it's close to empty.
yeah, exactly.
Any cents.
I mean,
Yeah.
somewhere there is a Miro board floating around that we started about kind of responses to low token price. So if I drop that in there, Stephen, would you add that as an idea?
Yeah,
So we
I
don't.
mean, the comments or yeah. I don't know what
No,
you
in the
think
Miro
on.
board that I'm going to drop a link to in a minute.
Yeah, you're going to drop the link into comments. That's what I was going to say. So, what do you think, Andre? Do you um I mean, I would if a proportion of budget was allocated to a stable coin, that would
Yeah.
help. That would help with planning to a certain extent, wouldn't you? And
Yeah, definitely.
it would well, you probably would divide it up. You could even, portion it per, say if you did the outset, let's say you could ask the community what amount of risk they want to take on. That's another approach. Yeah. So you could say, okay, do you want to be paid entirely in the stable coin, or do you want to be paid, you know? I know that
Yeah,
the whole
yeah,
issue of stable conversion is controversial because people are loyal to the cryptocurrency, yeah. But I would argue that loyalty doesn't make sense in terms of involvement in a blockchain ecosystem. If you accept that blockchain is an economic system, then AGIX isn't the only coin. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's other coins. There's Bitcoin, there's ADA, there's stable coins. So you have to, I think it's a bit backward looking just to think in terms of one coin. Is my view. But you're not taking advantage of the possibilities of the blockchain economy, if you like. So anyway,
yeah,
that's my view. Um, I know it feels like it feels just a bit crazy, don't you think, Manny? That we're just accepting this and just
Yeah.
letting it, it just seems a bit drone-like, a bit,
I
you know.
mean, I do think that whatever we say, I think we're kind of shutting the stable door after the horse has bolted. It's 20.
I
It's
know,
too late.
I know. Well,
uh,
God forbid it all go
No,
up again.
don't. No.
No, no.
hey, shut up.
But that's what I mean. It's like that's why price stabilization or price pegging is so important.
Yeah,
Because it doesn't really the price is not relevant
yeah,
if it's the budget value that's relevant. Yeah. So it's what you're budgeted, knowing what you're going to be paid, the value, is more important than the price of a particular currency. So anyway.
yeah.
It's an ongoing debate. Should we move on? We have the archive Git book issues. Should we
Yeah, I've
deal with
just
the
grouped them
whole?
all together. I've just grouped them all together because honestly, I just haven't had time to tidy them up. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you want to pick out
And I
any of
think we,
them,
we
or
can't we
should we?
can't afford to pay them now. So we'll just have to wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's an example. Sorry. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, sorry, I won't go on to a lecture again, but
All right.
the
Oh,
work.
can we actually do the work group sync call one though?
Yeah,
And just see if there's anything we do want to bring up? I mean, the one on the call on the 7th is going to be about collaborations with spin-offs, partners, all this kind of thing. There is a spreadsheet floating around, which I'll add into this issue, just where Peter has been asking people what are they doing and what would they like to do. Let me just find it actually, because it might be useful. Sorry, talk amongst yourselves. But yeah, are there things that this work group would be looking to try and do in terms of collaborations? Here it is. Got it.
is that for April? Or
Sorry? No, it's an
will that be
extra
for
call.
April?
Yeah, 7th of April. Sorry, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I'll just put that into the notes and comments at the 7th of April call. We'll be looking at.
Yeah, next meeting is the 7th. If you can add actually that link to that spreadsheet that I've just dropped, in the chat.
Yeah, we'll address collaboration. I'll put the link in a minute or something. That's inter-work group collaborations, is it?
No, it's collaborations with spin-offs and with partners and so on. I think it's prompted by this whole token price issue. It's like, are there other things that the ambassador program could be doing
Right.
in the absence
All
of any
right.
money at all? So,
Yeah, it would be collaborations outside the ecosystem would be good as well, I suppose, for that.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, that's another thing. We haven't
Um,
talked about that, but yeah, it should be probably discussed as well.
I mean, even across, if you're again, because that would help with price sensitivity, wouldn't it?
Mm.
Potentially. Is that both of those links correct?
I can only, there's only one. Uh, oh yeah, okay, I see.
I've
It's
cop-
just
yeah, yeah,
it's
I've
just
copied.
yeah.
It's,
If you can open that link actually as well, just so we can have a quick look at what I've added and see if there's anything else we'd like to say um on the subject.
okay. This is a worksheet.
So what I've added for archives is what we've done in the past. We've collaborated a bit with the Supervisory Council on knowledge management. And what we'd like to do, I don't know, is that accurate?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, mm, it depends how the situation develops, I suppose. But I would be not sure how cross collaboration with cross chain collaboration, maybe some sort. I'm not sure what.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's simple. Yeah, add that in actually. Yeah. Or shall
I'm
I?
not
Yeah, that
chain.
sounds like a very good idea.
It could be Cardano or Polkadot, maybe. But
Yeah.
again, it's how you. That is quite a. It's easy to say that, but again, it's another thing to do it, isn't it? So it depends. We would have to be a lot clearer about what we mean. Um, because a cross chain would imply that you're retaining some. You're not just repeating what you're doing just in a different ecosystem. That's what I mean. You're using both chains somehow, and that's what would need more thought. So I'll put that here. Like,
Yeah. Because the thing is, our archiving is not on chain. We have talked about on chain archiving, but it's not what we're doing. And if we're talking about cross-chain collabs, then we need to get to the stage where some of what we do is on chain.
yeah, or even just some of the transactional stuff we do is on chain.
No, that's true.
Um,
No.
or it doesn't have to be really ambitious and sensible, something like all facts or that we're building an oracle or something like that. Although that's something we could think about as well. But again, that's a catch-22. That's more about, well, where's the resources going to come from doing that kind of thing.
Mm.
So yeah, but it's an option. You're right. It's something to think about. And for other work groups as well, by the way, as well. So I'll just not just
That
archives.
actually shouldn't be there because it's under previous collaborations, which we haven't done.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll
Oh,
put it, I'll put it where
oh,
it
sure.
should be.
Oh, okay, sorry. Is there anything else we need to say on this?
No, just encouraging people if they're free to come to the meeting.
Okay, which is on the 7th of April.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, that's still open. It's going to stay open until the discussions have been resolved. Then we have, well, we've done the development ones. Quarterly report Q1 has been discussed. No, it hasn't. No, we haven't done the quarterly report. Okay. Finally, it's been
Um,
approved.
yes, it was approved. Yeah, so we can close the issue. Is it easier to close it and put an unpaid tag on it, or is it easier to just leave it open until such time as? Andre?
Do you want it left open, Andre, or should I close? Because it's got the unpaid tag on it already.
If it's got the tag, then you can do whatever you want with it.
Uh,
Well, that's just to tidy the board up. Let's just put it to
yeah,
done, so it helps.
let's make it.
Yeah.
But it's got unpaid on it anyway. So, um, the meeting. This is the meeting
The
issue,
other
and then we
thing,
have.
it's I didn't check that one now, but it's also good to have a milestone allocated to it.
Oh God, didn't it?
Bugger.
Sorry.
I'm not
Oh,
sure. I didn't check.
I did go through
yeah.
everything, so I think it should have. But let me just make
Yeah,
sure.
it's easy. It's easier to miss that, isn't it?
I mean, Stephen, while you're there, can you just search for quarterly report if you go filter by keyword?
Yeah. Hold on a sec.
Is it the queue?
That one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they all have
So
milestones. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got the milestone.
milestone
Yeah, it has.
March. Yeah. Yeah.
Hooray!
Okay. There you go. Let's take that out. Okay. No, I do not want to change. Um, okay. Is this last one a holder for something, Andre? The D work here.
That is just me doing the payments whenever that's gonna happen. So
Okay. So it's like a work record.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we
Again,
could
that's
close
all.
that and move it for payment, couldn't we? Because we need a new one for Q2, and you've put payments through this quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah, but do you want to leave it open to remind you that you need to create another one for
Yes.
Q2?
I'll do that. I'll quickly create a
Yeah.
Q2 and close this one.
I'll let Andre do that so
Yeah.
there's no confusion over where it all is. Oh, there's a thing that should be a milestone. Talking of milestones, that should be April. Okay, so we can see milestones here actually. So
Yeah.
that should be February. Let's
Oh
do
my
this.
God, there's an archive skipbook one that hasn't got one.
Oh my God, how
I'll
dare
go
you!
and fix it. I'll go and fix it later.
I've done it. Done it. So I think that's all of them are milestones now. Let's have a look. Check for the vocabulary.
I
What
mean,
milestone should
that's
that
sort
be?
of ongoing because I mean, maybe we should do that quarter by, I just don't want us to have to remember to create a new one every quarter. So I sort of feel like that should have an infinite, because there's no cost against it,
An
is there?
infinite milestone.
Yeah.
Does that upset anything, Andre, if you don't have a milestone?
No.
Strictly speaking, it's to the end of June at the moment. But you've got the start date and end date there, haven't you? But yeah, anyway,
I
we're
suppose,
just gonna
I'll
leave that.
just look at that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's it. If there's any other issues on the board, um, do you have details of voting, Banny, or do I have that? Let's have a look. If I
A
stop sharing.
voting. Do you mean for the
Oh,
proposal?
yeah, for BGI.
We do. Let me just post them.
Let's see. I've got oh,
Let
here
me
we go.
just post it. All right. So, yeah, as people know, some of the work that we started in, I suppose, last quarter has kind of morphed into a proposal in the BGI Nexus funding round. So where I've just posted there, there's a link to their voting guide. Voting opens at 6 UTC, 1800 UTC tonight. And they're using a really interesting process that people might have come across before, but you might not have. Pairwise voting. So basically, it's almost like you will be asked to compare and contrast two different proposals. So it's kind of interesting because you can't then just go and just simply vote on the ones you're interested in. You might not even get assigned those. It's actually more like reviewing than it is voting. So you'll be presented with a number of different pairs and you kind of compare and contrast them on the various criteria that they want you to look at, which is things like, how ethical is it? How innovative is it? And yeah, the idea is that when we analyze, okay, this proposal was deemed better than that proposal, but worse than that proposal, worse, you know what I mean? That should give us a better idea of, like they say, the collective intelligence. And it also means that it's less dependent on people just mobilizing their mates to vote for them. I don't know if people realize how few people tend to vote in deep funding rounds and partner rounds, but it is low. It's like 50 people sometimes. So
Mm.
this is something that we can do with those numbers. If we had like 400,000 people voting, then maybe you can't without some kind of analysis tool, which interestingly is something that maybe somebody should do sometime. But
Is that randomized, Vanny?
yeah, it is.
So,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
okay.
So it is, I
Okay,
think
so
this is the thing. It just means you can't say, like, if I go to 10 of my mates and go, oh, will you vote for me? They might not even get our
hmm,
proposal. So,
yeah,
I think the disadvantage is that if I do go to any of my mates and just go, oh, this is quite interesting, do you want to have a go? I think a lot of them will go, oh my God, that's really laborious, and I really can't. So it maybe puts
yeah.
people off, but it might not.
But
And
the
also,
problem
I've
of group, sorry,
no, I was just going to say I've also dropped in the chat a link to our proposal. So
yeah,
please have a look at it at least. Even if you don't get it assigned to you to vote, it'd just be really cool if people had a bit of an idea of what we're thinking about and how we're trying to work, because we're seeing this as stuff that, even though it's separate from the work group, if it doesn't get funded, there's no doubt that we will still try and find ways to do this work and want to engage the community with it. And basically what we're looking at is how you audit whether what a graph analysis process has come up with. So in our context, we're using the data from the archives. That's our corpus. And that's something that this community has created. And, by writing meeting summaries. So the ambassadors own it. And
mm,
in terms of analysing whether the insights from a graph process are accurate, the people who created it and own it are the best people to do that. So,
yeah,
it's kind of all the things around community archiving about owning your history, owning your own documentation, and being able to have some input into the ethics of how it's analysed. Is a graph process saying, oh, well, this shows blah, 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 blah. And you, as a member of the community, go, well, that's not even true. So how do we audit what a graph analysis comes up with? And how do we use AI in effective ways and have some kind of human in the loop to enable us to, and, also just how do we as a community learn how to assess what an AI analysis produces? How do we learn to say, it says that, but actually, if you bring some critical thinking to that, that's not quite true. These are skills that we all
yeah,
need, you know?
yeah. I mean, also what's cropped up in this meeting a lot is partly for budgeting issues, and also is how we are slowly in the archive work group over incrementally has built up a big community data source. And what we haven't been in a position to do is to take that to the next level, really. And again, well, one, because we don't have the budget for it, and also this raises the question of, well, should it be in the ambassadors? So here, this takes it to much more to a tooling level, an AI tooling level, which would then, it would then utilize community source data, but without, as you say, Vanny, without that kind of funding, without that, it presents a new dimension, a new opportunity to do that. And so, would anyone mention it to anyone else or to support it, an idea of where we could take things if we were going in that direction. So yeah, I think that's it for the voting guide, and so encourage people to participate in the BGI Nexus grant round and to participate in the voting round. Which is quite interesting. And I should stop sharing there. Is there anything else I need to mention? Have I forgotten? Any other business? No? I'll take that as a no. So I could stop recording.